As I ask these women to introduce themselves, I think you will all agree that this panel is very aptly named Women on the Move, because these are amazing women with amazing and inspirational stories. But rather than me introduce them, let me just introduce myself first, and then I'm going to pass it on to each of them to tell you a little bit about themselves and their stories. So I'm Mary Ann Riley. I am the head of North America Marketing for Visa. And we are now in our third Fashion Week, so thrilled to be back. And for those of you who haven't seen it yet, please check out the activation that we have downstairs with some really great products from some really fabulous women designers. So with that, let me turn it over and start with you, Lindsay.
Oh, I'm not big on talking about myself, but hey guys. I'm Lindsay Peoples-Wagner, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue.
Hi, my name is Lauren Wasser. I'm a model and activist.
Hi, my name's Becca McCarran-Tran, and I'm the founder and creative director of a brand called Chromat. And also, y'all didn't even hype yourself up enough. You're also a published author.
Wait, first of all, let's
Come
hype
on.
up Becca, though.
I mean, now I feel like I should have introduced them myself, because
No.
they're really not giving you very much context. A little more. Can we do round two now? A little bit more, please. Let's talk about...
Okay, I'll hype up Becca because she had an incredible show last night celebrating her 10-year anniversary, which I wrote about Becca in my book. Yes, I'm an author, Becca. Yeah, but that's
Someone show Lindsay's book off to the crowd. I know my mom already has a signed copy. Where is it? Everyone go buy it downstairs in the Visa Lounge. Look at that book. So beautiful. Written by Lindsay.
Awesome. All right, none of you are giving me any more, so I'm going to have to do the probing to get more information. But first, before I start asking the questions, let me just give you a little bit of context about why Visa is here and why we're doing this panel. So we really started this a couple of years ago, this focus on women. I mean, there's a lot of conversation happening out there around women's empowerment and pay equality, but we still have a long way to go, as I think you all know. And what we at Visa really discovered as we were doing a lot of research around just the insights and the mindset of women versus men, and particularly millennial women and those who are making an impact today, is the mindset about money. And that women just don't feel comfortable having the conversations about money. Women don't ask for raises at the rate that men do. They have a greater level of anxiety, even though they are willing to ask for a promotion at the same rate as men. So there is something there around money, and I think we all know that money is power, and so our goal is to really start that conversation. So we started a campaign called Money is Changing, so let's talk about it. Literally to just start to have the conversation and have women tell really inspiring stories of how they're changing it and leading the way for the rest of us. We also started a program called She's Next, which is to give the tools and the resources for women-owned small businesses and entrepreneurs, because similarly, those women are not getting the same level of funding, or getting a little fraction of the funding that male-owned businesses are getting. So those are some of the things that we are doing at Visa, as well as what we sponsored the U.S. Women's National Team and put Megan Rapinoe on our team, what we call Team Visa. So she represents Visa as part of all the athletes, and who, she's also has such an amazing, strong voice around this subject. So to that point, let me actually start with you, Lindsay, because obviously at Teen Vogue, it's much more than being about fashion. And how and when do you think that change started to happen, and where are we on that journey?
Yeah, I think for me, since I assisted at Teen Vogue when I was younger and I interned there, I had a different idea of what I felt like it should be. And so when I came in, I've seen the brand just change and have many different iterations. And I think that for me, it was always, yes, I like fashion. I like clothes. I like a lot of the things that we all love, but that doesn't mean that you can't also care about the world and that you also can't really care about inclusivity and all of these things that are really near and dear to my heart. And so I think that when I came on, it was really important for me to do everything through the lens of inclusivity, and that touches on fashion, and that touches on beauty, and that touches on politics, and it's really about the lens of the viewpoint of being everything about our culture and not just being so tunnel vision of if you like fashion, like then you can't care about Trump or you can't care about all these things. That's not the world that I live in. I know that some people live that way, but that's not the world that I live in. And I think that our readers really like that we talk about everything in a really authentic way. And I think that if we're doing that, then we're doing our job.
Absolutely. Well, I was saying I have a 14-year-old daughter, so I, certainly want her to grow up with having women like all of you as inspiration, and hopefully we can change it, and she's in a much better place when she's, I started by saying my age, but then I said more like your age is. So Becca, let me go to you because as was mentioned, you had your show last night for Chromat, so congratulations. I heard it was fabulous. I'm sorry that I missed it. But you are all about championing diversity, both, from gender, beauty, physical, handicaps, age. Why was that so important to you when you first started out? How did you get your inspiration?
If someone like you had been editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue when I was a teen, I feel like my teen years would have been so different. But I think growing up, for me, I was interested in fashion. I thought fashion was cool. But for me, growing up in a small town in Virginia, being fashionable meant going to the mall, being trendy, buying stuff, and being skinny, and looking like a model that I see in the magazines. And I felt like my teen years, I was really trapped by a single definition of beauty and trying to aspire to what I thought should be the ideal. And so many years later, when I found myself working in fashion, I knew that I didn't want to go by those same rules. I felt that if I was going to do fashion, I wanted to do it my own way and make sure that the people that inspire me, the people in my community, are celebrated as they should be. And so I've always utilized the platform that we have with Chromat to celebrate, people of all gender identities, people of all shapes and sizes. This is how it should be. This is normal to me. And I think when I first started doing this on the runways here in New York Fashion Week, a lot of the press was about our casting, how bold and how revolutionary it was, but I think it's more shocking and more press-worthy when people cast all skinny white models. I think that should be something that people are really shocked by. That to me is shocking. And so I think people having models like Lauren Wasser, who's walked for us many times, and there's just so much inspiration within the creative community that we work with in New York. And so we've always wanted to utilize our platform to celebrate all these people. And so it's always an honor. Like last night was so cool. I feel really excited about it. Celebrating 10 years of these inspiring Chromat babes.
Chromat babes. And speaking of Chromat babes, so Lauren, obviously you're a model and you're an activist, as we were talking about right before the show. And if you can tell a little bit about your story and obviously what's drawn you to be an activist, and obviously you're such an amazing, amazing role model, but maybe you can share a bit about your story.
Yeah, hello everyone. I was 24 years old. My mom and dad are both models first and foremost. I grew up in the modeling industry, especially when it was like the early 90s, when it was Supermodels and Cindy Crawford and that 1% of, it's all I saw when I was growing up. And so when I was 24, I was modeling, trying to figure it out, and I was taking a break from modeling at that moment, and I played basketball, I was an athlete. And I was on my period, and it was super heavy, and I was using super absorbent tampons, as a lot of us women do. I was using the product as I should, and I almost lost my life. I lost my right leg, and I just last year amputated my left leg because I have complications from the incident when it first happened. And yeah, my whole journey back has been redefining who I am and where I am in my life, and coming back to an industry that was, seen as only one-sided for so long. And me growing up with that only one vision, I thought for sure there was no way in hell that the fashion world would ever accept me back, this way. And by the grace of God, I survived. And not only that, I'm being embraced by an industry that is definitely changing. And I'm so thankful for this woman right here, because she definitely gave me my first opportunity back when I was first coming back to the runway. So I'm forever grateful for her for including me and giving me that opportunity. Trying to raise awareness for TSS and realizing that is a huge women's health issue, and getting women to be more aware of what they're putting inside of their bodies, and demanding for safer products for us, because this should not be happening. It could easily be changed, but unfortunately it's a billion-dollar industry, and it's going to take us women to rally up and not take that anymore. And I think we're doing a good job. We just need to keep going and keep fighting, and keep changing the limit and pushing the boundaries. And
Absolutely, and having these conversations
Definitely,
and having you out
definitely.
there, and
Yeah.
and being in shows and hearing your voice. So thank you for talking about it. To the point of what you were mentioning, that it is changing. That someone like you is walking in these shows, and that there's now not all skinny white models, that you're seeing much more diversity. But so it feels like the rules are really sort of morphing and things are changing in the industry. But looking back now, when you all started, what are some of the unwritten rules? What are things that you wish you knew then that you know now?
How long do we have? I mean, so, open-ended
How long does
question.
everyone want to
No,
stay?
I'm totally kidding. Do you want to go, Becca?
I don't know. I feel like the biggest thing that has been really important for Chromat is our collaborations. It's my favorite thing doing what I do as a fashion designer. I love working with people from outside of the fashion industry, like engineers, scientists, all kinds of different materials that we've explored. And I feel like some advice I would give is, like, especially for students or people starting out, like, the people that are in the trenches with you are the most important people in your life. You don't necessarily have to go to the top. You don't necessarily need, like, Anna Wintour's advice. You just need the advice of, like, your friend or, like, your photographer that you're working with. I would say, like, networking horizontally or sideways is super important, because the people who have been there since day one are the people that are going to help you get to the next level. And so that's always been something that I've wanted to just always remember.
That's great. Well, Lindsay, you've grown up in, a world that is incredibly fast changing in the media world. How do you now help to foster or mentor the next generation?
I think it's a lot of different things. I think that for me, it always really boils down to the work. And so if I'm doing the work that is inclusive and giving a platform to voices that I feel like other people aren't covering enough, that to me is the best thing that I can ever do with my life. I think that like Becca's part of the book, but Christopher John Rogers is, and so is Rosie Aslin. And I think that for me, it's really, like, Christopher John Rogers is somebody that I just love and adore so much, and has gone through so much to be able to even have a show yesterday. And I think that a lot of people, when I first was even, thinking about the book, were like, oh, you should write about this person, you should reach out to these people. And it was like, I had free reign, and so I want to choose people that I want to choose. And I think that all those little choices, all those little decisions add up to what makes you who you are. And I think that that's just really important to the core of who I am, and lifting voices that I know that other people may not, if they had the chance, they would shoot for whatever, but, like, that's not important to me, so.
Well, a lot of it is about confidence, right? I mean, it sounds like you had the confidence to say, this is my book, this is my choice, and that's a lot of what we're trying to build, is to make sure that women do feel confident, especially about money and finances. So, Lauren, let me ask you, because obviously your story is inspiring on so many different levels, but you talked about you're also really passionate about sports. Can you talk about how important confidence has been in your life, especially in, being competitive and bring you back to where you are?
Yeah, I mean, being an athlete, I think, is really what got me back on my feet. I like to say that because, but yeah, like literally, I think it was just knowing because of sports and pushing myself to those extreme levels of, being uncomfortable and being in a difficult spot or having to go that extra mile really forced me to see this more so as a challenge. And trying to use it to my advantage. I think that's kind of why I made them gold as well, because I kind of made them myself. Like, I love A$AP Rocky, so I was like, can't rock gold teeth, I'll just rock gold legs, and just make them my jewelry piece. So it's kind of like what I've done, and it just, I think that's what it stems from. And honestly, I think it's truthfully just been my journey. I've grown so much, and I've really seen what beauty really is. And at the end of the day, it's in your heart, and it's what you exude, and it's about all of those trials and tribulations that you think are the end, but are actually just pushing you to be uncomfortable so you'll get to the next level. And so I think it's just keep pushing yourself, even when you want to give up. It's you don't know what you're capable of. I think you'll surprise yourself.
Right. Well said. I think that's a great point. So switching gears a little bit, Becca, you started out studying architecture, and now you're breaking down stereotypes in business. And we talked a little bit about small business and passion for supporting small businesses, as we do at Visa as well. What from your own journey might help aspiring entrepreneurs in the room or out there?
I guess, yeah, as far as coming up, I was reminded of like how we've worked together in the past when you were at
Don't say it.
Yes, you've always dealt with access and financial access, and I think I was just remembering, like, coming up as a fashion designer, it's really expensive to put on these shows. It's incredibly resource dependent, and for young designers to have access to these spaces, I really feel like basically the fashion industry is going to change when more designers from more diverse backgrounds are given the access and given the opportunity to show at places like this. And I think, like, I'm so grateful to have worked with Made and Milk, who were able to give me, they gave me a free show space early on in my career of Chromat, and that's helped me get to this place. And I think at this point in my life, celebrating 10 years in the business, my job now is to help other designers gain access to these spaces, because, we're talking about changing the industry, but the industry will never change if the same fashion designers and the same owners of these companies, they're all in the same kind of hands of these traditional people who have always gone by the same rules about who's fashionable and who's not. So I really believe in the next generation, the people at Teen Vogue that are reading Teen Vogue who are going to become fashion designers and people in the fashion industry, just helping the next generation gain access to spaces like this through financial, support from Visa or from whoever, spaces like IMG who can give free show spaces. That's really been a huge opportunity to, I think, show more voices, show more amazing models on the runway, because I think the more diverse people that are making decisions behind the scenes, the more you'll see diversity on the runway.
Great. I mean, there's a lot of change happening. But before, let me ask you, I'm going to ask you all a couple of, or just jump in with whatever thoughts you have, and then I'll open it up to the audience. You're all breaking boundaries, and there's a lot of that happening in the industry. But what do you think is the next big challenge? What do you think culturally needs to change for this to really continue to be a very different industry?
I mean, I think that we say things are changing, and I do understand me even being in the business that I'm in does mean that there has been change, but I don't think that things are changing as fast as people say they are, and I think we like to kind of throw that around a lot, but I don't know. I think that there's been progress, but I still think that there's a lot of, as Becca was saying, very old school thinking as to, who can be cool, who can be chic, who is deserving and who is worthy. And I think that it has to be people, it has to be more than just us. I think that's where the next step is. It has to be everyone. I think even, the fact that there's CurvyCon right now, all editors should be at that. It shouldn't just be people who want to go to CurvyCon. That should be a part of the Fashion Week thing as well. And I think it's all little things, but I think it has to be a concerted effort from the whole industry, not just the same people caring about inclusivity.
Right. Well, and it can't just be the women. When we're talking about changing and trying to advance equality for women, if it's just the women that talk about it, we're really just talking amongst ourselves and nothing's really changing, right? What else?
I would also
Beck, any
add
thoughts?
women, femmes, and non-binary people to the conversation, because gender is not a binary. But I don't know, I was just thinking, I was sitting up here thinking, like, you know, I remember when you released the article, Being Black in Fashion, you interviewed how many people? Hundreds of models, stylists, fashion designers, editors, all about their experience being black in the fashion industry. And I remember reading that piece and thinking how much work went into finding all those people in the industry, reading their opinions and their experiences about being in the industry while black. And it really changed how I try and think about myself and my privilege and access to these spaces as a white person. And I really feel like people that are, I mean, you are utilizing your platform to change the industry. You are utilizing any space you're given, your articles, you are opening the doors for so many people. And I don't know, I'm just in awe of you. And the same goes for you. I mean, you were, I remember when, so the reason we first met, we were in LA, so I did this thing called the Vogue Fashion Fund. And it was an amazing experience. And
It's a love fest up here.
they were having a runway show.
I'm about to start crying. I can't.
Okay, no, but I mean, I want you to talk about that article if you can, because it was life-changing. But I remember being in LA, and I was asking the Vogue people, who are they going to cast for the runway for the Chromat models, and you were on the list. And I was like, finally! I remember reading your articles and being so amazed at, you know, your journey about how you use your platform as a model to really talk about people with disabilities and people with, you know, bionic augmentation. And I thought it was so cool. And I was like, yes, we're going to do this in LA. She's based in LA. Let's make this happen. And from that moment on, like, we've been working together. I've been a fan. And I mean, every one of us has gone through our own, you know, trials and tribulations. We've had a lot of hardships. We've encountered obstacles. But now we're here and we're doing so much, hopefully, to open the doors for other people.
The conversation's happening, you know? That's all we can do is keep forcing the conversation and being where we're not supposed to be. You know?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I mean, so that's my last question. What advice do you have to anybody out there who wants to make an impact? You know, you've all made impacts in very different ways. What advice do you have?
I mean, both of these incredible people hustle hard, and I think that people like to see the Instagrams and see the cool things, but doing the work is hard. It's just hard work to continue to fight against all of these rules in the industry, and I think that it just takes a lot more. It's so much more taxing than I think people ever even think that it will be, because this industry is just so old school, and there's so many things that need to be torn down. And so I think you have to be prepared to actually hustle and actually do it, and not just use a hashtag.
And write about it, even though you're not talking about
If you're
your
a
book.
writer,
but
yes.
Lauren, what about you?
I mean, I think everyone in this room can utilize their platforms, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram. I think whatever it is that you're trying to bring attention to or hype up or make people be more aware, I mean, just keep on it and push it and be that voice, because you're not alone. You know, someone's facing the same or similar battle that you may be facing, and, you know, being able to connect with those people and maybe fight it together, or, you know, just be open-minded to collaborating and seeing who's trying to make a difference as well, and becoming a team.
What advice do you have? Last bit of advice for anyone out there who similarly wants to make an impact, and it could be in any field or.
Well, I guess just appreciate your team, because it's just so much more than just you. And I think having the people come out at the runway show for Chromat, all the people who created the garments alongside me, and celebrating them in our space is really important. So just like being humble and being thankful, and that's kind of how I feel.
Good last words. Well, not last words, because now I'm going to open it up to the audience.
So you guys all kind of touched on this, but I wanted to know how you guys combat imposter syndrome, because even I, like being in this space right now, I feel like I don't belong here because being a woman of color, being more on the curvier side, but like there's always something in the back of my head saying like, oh, I don't belong to be here, and I don't belong to have access to these spaces. So how do you guys, like, from your perspective, deal with having that courage to say, no, I do belong in these spaces, and I'm going to continue to break that barrier to allow other people to be in these spaces as well?
Well, first of all, you do belong.
Girl, you're
So
so
that's
beautiful.
you have
Welcome.
to tell yourself, right? You're beautiful. Your curves are beautiful. So know that you do belong. That would be the first thing I would say. But I'm gonna ask you
Yeah,
guys.
you
to answer.
definitely belong here, girl. Don't think that. You're beautiful.
But I really know what you mean. I've been like doing the Vogue Fashion Fund. I was terrified. I'd never met someone from Vogue. They were all tall and they were all blonde. And I was scared. I remember going to some of the first meetings with the Vogue team, and I was like, what do I wear? Because they were always like, they were giving the designers advice. They're like, be yourself, be yourself. And I was like, okay, I think I'm being myself. I don't even know. But now I think I understand. It's like, basically, you know, if you're a denim brand, you don't have to dress in like a three-piece suit to, you know, go to a Vogue meeting. You can just wear your jeans and be comfortable. Or like, you know, if you wear, like, for me, what kind of it clicked later is like, I don't have to dress in a different way to go meet for Vogue than I do with my friends. I don't have to, and that's because I've kind of developed that confidence that I belong. But I think I understand that journey, because at the beginning I was like, I don't know what to wear. I don't know what to say. I don't know anything. And like, it was very scary. And I think just being in those spaces more and like other people helping make me feel comfortable. And so, yeah, I think your feelings are valid. I understand what you mean.
I think also just reminding that like there's only one you know, like that's what's the beauty of each and every one of us, is that we're all so unique. And I think embracing just who you are, and that energy will gravitate the people that are supposed to be in your life and the spaces that you're supposed to be, because it's just you and it's who you are. It's about not caring what anyone else thinks, but knowing that you're there for a reason because you're beautiful and you deserve to be here. You know, you're gorgeous, girl. Like, you shouldn't even have those thoughts. But I totally understand. Like, I have gold legs. Like, come on now. So I feel you.
I just wanted to say thank you all for sharing your journey. It's truly inspiring. And my name is Khadijah. My question is, what is one quote that you guys live by each and every day?
Ah, good one.
I'm racking my brain for the best Beyonce quote right now. I'm like, oh, okay, always stay gracious. Best belief is.
I'm paraphrasing, but when I was at the cut and I took it with me and I have it like in a drawer at Teen Vogue, there's a Toni Morrison when she did in the New Yorker, and she wrote about work and how she grew up with her dad and talking about work, and it's something like, do the work for yourself and not for your boss. And I think about that a lot, because I think that you know, you can get in these jobs and you think like, oh, I'm gonna just try to impress these people, I'm gonna try to make these people happy, but like, I think for me, it's like I really want to do the work that I'm really proud of and that I really feel and that makes me emotional. So that's one, I think.
I would also just say follow your passion. If you're doing something that you, as you could see with these women, doing something that they really believe in is you know, that's the most important thing.
That was easy. Hi, my name is ELISA Jacobs. I wanted to say thank you as well. This was incredibly insightful and really vulnerable, which is nice to see during New York Fashion Week, which is a lot of putting on. I am actually curious about democratizing access. I think we talk a lot about pushing the conversation forward, creating space, giving seats at tables, bringing men along for the journey. And as someone who's coming off of the last 5 years, being at a big corporate conglomerate as well, having had the access to leverage that power for good, and make conscious multicultural decisions and diversification of where we were spending $6 and $7 figure budgets, now having 2 months ago launched my own agency and wanting to continue to create that space and give that access, but not necessarily having a bucket of cash to do it. How do we, wherever we sit, everyone in the room, make that space and kind of push that agenda forward whether we think we have the tools or not.
Oh, no, don't look at me. I'm just moderating. I will give some thoughts, but I want you guys to.
I mean, that's my life currently. I don't have buckets of cash. Fashion Week is expensive. Thank you to Visa for sponsoring this panel. But I mean, I guess I would be a prime example of having no money and making something work. You know, I think it goes back to that kind of networking sideways. Like, if you can help your friend out, you do a PR or marketing or whatever you do, just help your friend that you believe in and give them like some advice on their social media captions or something. It doesn't always have to be like $1 million budget. It can be literally just helping your friends. And I think that's taken me where I am now, is like a lot of friend and communal support and like other people helping me out. And so I try and do the same for others.
I mean, I would also just say, so thank you for the plug for Visa, Becca. I did not ask for that. But, you know, look for the resources that are out there, and for definitely for networking, because I remember having one of our She's Next events, and I just brought in a couple of bankers from one of our banking partners, and, you know, I sort of remember, they're not here, hopefully, that I was like, oh, God, they're so, like, corporate looking, and everybody was sort of like the people, you know, young, really passionate people looking to start businesses. But the response was afterwards, that was the most impactful part of the conversation, because nobody actually talks to us about what resources are out there for us to find ways to get funding. And there are resources out there. So check out a She's Next event, or look online as well. So that's what we're trying to do, is actually help to provide that information. Yes, Leslie. Oh, a comment. Did I say you could make a comment? I say questions.
I don't even know, is this on? But no, I wanted just to, because Lindsay, I have the same quote, and it's on my phone. So so you don't have to paraphrase. I was going to read it, because I also have that hanging up on my wall, which is Toni Morrison. And it's 4 points, which is, whatever the work is, do it well, not for the boss, but for yourself. You make the job, it doesn't make you. Your real life is with us, your family, for all of you and your families. And I always love this one. You are not the work you do, you are the person you are. So anyway, that was the quote I just wanted to add on, because I have that hanging up too.
Can you text that to me now so that I have it handy too? I'm going to put it on my wall. It's great.
How are you? My name is Alfonso Reed. I'm a publicist. I started out working at really big PR companies, and now I have my own agency within like 3 years, and it's huge. When I first started, I had a problem with, like, I have so much experience from working with really big companies, but I kind of like limited myself. Like, I would like hide my Instagram, my social media, my LinkedIn, because I would see that, like, when people see my face or like see that I was a black person, and I would have like these really huge clients, they wouldn't give me any access. But when I like hid and just like reach out to different people, I would get like, I would have my, like, more people would give me more access to invite my clients to different things, and it would be like, just like, what do you guys think is like the shift, or what do you guys think is like what you should do? So I just feel like it's so hard. Like I know, like, for me, these big companies, these big PR companies, even for like Fashion Week, they don't know. Like, last night I was at a party, and it was like these big like rappers who like moving around, and they're moving the culture, and they're the ones selling out these different brands. But the publicist at the door had no idea. Even like the director of the PR company didn't even know who the person was, and they were actually DJing for the event. So like, what is like the shift, or like what is like going to change this? Like, I mean, I see like Lindsay, I love her work. I think what she does, even from the very beginning of her career, just being like very social, like being open on social media and what she does is like really helpful. Even from being an intern into now, she's really created a path. But I just don't understand, like, she's doing so much, and a lot of people are doing so much, but it's still no real change. I feel like it's still. I just feel like the top up, they don't really, like, there's nobody like me. Like, it's like the one person, like, I worked for this big company, and I was the only male and only black person in the company, and I was the one really bringing the culture and really telling them this is what it is, and it was turned like this amazing thing. Even work with big brands like Valentino and like different things, like, so I just don't know like what's actually should happen,
What's
or what we should
changing.
do. Right.
I think the problem really stems from, I think at least what I've seen is that there are people in power that you think are saying certain things because they use the hashtags, but they're actually not saying those things in meetings. Because I think that for me, it's been a huge wake-up call in the past couple years, even when I was working on the Black in Fashion piece and talking to different people, and I had so many off-the-record conversations as well of, how did this come about and how did the situation happen? And, people straight up told me, yeah, like, of course, I will say Black Girl Magic on Instagram, but yeah, I was too scared to say something. And I think that for me, it's just using that seat at the table actually to speak up. I think that we've seen a lot of people get positions. We've seen, the front row is more diverse. There are more people at shows. There are more people in the industry. But people are still scary. And so I think that a lot of times I try not to judge because I just don't care. Like I know who I am and I know what I'm about. So I'm very much like, if you don't agree or you don't, understand why all of these things about inclusivity are important, like, I'm good. But I think that other people get really caught up in, I want to work with this brand. I want to, I want to be famous. I want to do all these things. And so they won't use that. But I think that's really, honestly, one of the next waves of things that needs to happen, because I think people are getting more jobs and things are changing, but there's still not enough of people speaking up and having these conversations.
And it shouldn't only be Black people having to do all of the speaking about racism and institutional racism and white supremacy and how embedded it is in the fashion industry. I feel like fashion was, it was a place where the elite whites in European, like, I feel like it was all kind of like this high fashion really stems from a point in American history and in world history that it's runs so deep as this kind of elitist thing. And I think hopefully that as more people have access to editors and through social media, that their voices are finally being heard directly to the brands. We've seen things like Gucci where people on social media directly say, this is fucked up, why did you do this, change this now, and they're actually responding. And so, I don't know, hopefully that goes some way to like start making brands and other spaces more accountable.
But also think about the fact that you're paving the way. So by putting your face out there for people like you saying, nobody looks like me, somebody coming up is going to look at you and say, oh, somebody who looks like me. So kudos to you for sticking out there, putting yourself out there.
Hi, thank you guys so much. My name is Kina, and I'm a grad student at Parsons researching fat studies and kind of the whole idea of design education playing a role in the industry being inclusive or not size inclusive. So I was curious what your guys' thoughts, and this might be more for Becca because of design. Do you guys think it plays a huge role, like apparel or fashion design education, or would you also consider like maybe coming into a classroom to try to teach size inclusive design, because a lot of students don't get that, and so.
Yeah, for sure. Education is so crucial to having, giving the designers the tools and the ability to create patterns at any size. We all know that, 5-10 years ago, there was only size 8 and down, just mannequins in most classrooms. It's been very recent that more plus-size mannequins even enter the building in educational facilities. So it's definitely something changing. But I think, just beyond just having the mannequins, we need to think about why fat is considered not fashionable. There's a sign downstairs in the lounge saying you don't look fat, and I think that is just one little instance of why people think that fat equals not fashionable. It's just one example, and I think, for example, models like Ashley Graham or whoever saying I'm not a plus size model, I'm a model. But why can't plus size be also a model? Why is plus size a negative connotation? Why can't any model of any size also be plus size, and that would not be a negative thing? I think breaking down the stigma around fat, plus size, larger bodies, different size bodies, different bodies with different abilities we need to make that not be a bad connotation. And I think like changing people's minds and changing the culture is equally as important as getting the mannequins into the building.
I'll also add, I think it's just the standard that what we've accepted in the industry has just been, if you can design for sample size, you're a great designer. And I think it goes for a lot of different things. Like, I think it's the same thing with being a beauty editor. Like, if you can't tell me my curl type, then you're not a good beauty editor. Like, if you only know, the white girl hair brands, but you don't go to any of the black girl hair brands, and you don't really know anything about, brands that have extended colors and all this other stuff, then you're not really a good beauty editor. And I think it's the same with design. Like, you're not a really good fashion designer if you tell me, like, I can't make that in a size 18. Well, then, like, you're not good. Like, that's really what it boils down to.
That's great. Do we have one more question? I think we have time for one more. If we have one more. Okay.
Hi, I also wanted to say thank you for this conversation. But also, since this is like a fast-paced industry, I guess I was wondering what you guys do to for your mental health. And do you guys take mental health days? Do you guys set out time for doing something for your own pleasure, I guess, or anything, some sort of?
That's a great question.
I actually am training for the New York City Marathon, so I've been running my butt off. But thank you. Please don't.
You go, girl.
26.3, girl. 26.3.
Wait, how many minutes?
It's all the 5 boroughs of.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so cool.
Crazy.
Bionic
You're
blade.
gonna have to come and watch now.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty crazy. I'll have gold blades, so you won't miss me. But anyway, what was your mental health? Yeah, I definitely would recommend, now that I can run again and be free, we're consumed with so much on a daily basis, especially Instagram, all of these blogs, all of these access, and seeing so much consistency. We're overstimulated, and we also it triggers things in our heads. It makes us feel bad about ourselves. It makes us think we're not getting where we should be or what we should have or whatever, and it's all false. And being able to kind of step back and even if it's going for a long walk or if it's just whatever's gonna kind of chill you out and allow you to just not have your phone and just be with yourself and your own thoughts, it's so powerful. It's so recharging. I recommend it for everyone. So that's what I've been doing. But I also been running my butt off, girl, so.
I'm so excited to catch up on the queer season of Are You the One with my wife. Is anyone watching that? Okay.
I went for a massage last night. Which I was traveling and just had a really crazy week, and then I knew I was coming here, so I was thankful to whoever booked the spa treatment for me. Although I have to say, you have to really learn to turn your mind off too. It was probably 55 minutes in of my 60-minute massage that I was like, okay, now I'm relaxed, and it was like, ding, you're done. Anyway, on that note. So thank you all so much for coming. Thank you to our fabulous panelists, and thank you for sharing your stories. So now I'd love to ask you to all go downstairs and check out the Visa Everywhere pop-up shop if you haven't seen it, because the products that we have there are all exclusive for this event for Visa by female designers, and all the proceeds are going to Women's World Banking, which is a longstanding partner of ours that actually helps female entrepreneurs around the world. And we'll also have Lindsay downstairs signing her book, Becoming a Fashion Designer. So please join us again, though. Thank you for being here, and thank you to our panelists.